All right, everybody. So, welcome to longitude and latitude questions. We're going to start with number one. So, number one says basic answers to the following questions on the diagram below, which represents the latitude and longitude lines on Earth. Point A through E represents locations on Earth. Arrows represent direction of rotation. All right. So it says, what is the approximate latitude and longitude of location A? All right, latitude, longitude of location A. So let's take a look. I'm gonna identify A, so I know that A is right here. Okay, let's start with latitude first, right? So all of the lines that run across the globe, these are all latitude lines, right? The 50, 40, 30. And if it's above the equator, we know that it's going to be what? Degrees north. Keep that in mind. All right. So when I look at A is going to be halfway between 20 and 10. We see that? So if it's going to be halfway, then that means if it's between 20 and 10, I'm going to write that A is 15 degrees north. Why is it north? Because it is above the equator. All right. Now let's look at longitude very quickly. Change. All right. I'm going to put for red longitude. Now, these lines that run parallel, right, downwards, these are all longitude lines that we measure in red. All right. And so I need to first find out, I'm going to erase the blue real quick. I need to find out how much each line is going up by. So it's 60 blank 90. So to go from 60 to 90, I had to move two lines across. So real quick, I'm going to do 90 minus 60, and I had to divide by how many lines I moved. 90 minus 60 gives you 30 divided by 2, which gives you 15 degrees. So that means each line is moving by 15 degrees. All right? Keep that in mind. Now that we know that, let's take a look. Oop, there we go. Now let's take a look. The prime meridian is right here, and A is to the left of the prime meridian. So is it degrees east or degrees west? Well, it's to the left of the prime meridian, and it does not cross 180. So that means my longitude has to be degrees west. And so since A is right here next to 150, and this line right here is 165 degrees west, right? A is in between 150 and 165. It's in between them. So therefore, I'm going to say it's about 160 degrees west. And what answer is that? It's going to be choice D. All right, number two says the map below shows the location and diameter in kilometers of four meteorite impact craters, A, B, C, and D, found in the United States. What is the approximate latitude and longitude of the largest crater? Well, what craters do I know? It tells me right here, A, B, C, and D. These are all craters. What is the longitude of the largest crater? Well, the largest crater is what letter, everybody? The largest crater is A, right? So now I just need to find out my longitude and my latitude of A. All right, so when I take a look, A is definitely, let's do longitude first. You see how A is right next to, sorry. You see how A is right to the left of 100 degrees west, right? So it looks to be what? I would say, let's say 105 degrees west, where A is. Now, I'm going to put blue. Blue is going to represent my latitude. So my latitude is definitely greater than 40, right? So if I were to do an estimate, let's say it looks to be about 45 degrees north. So when I look, which option is closest to what coordinate I just mentioned, which one is closest to it, is going to be choice D. All right, 45 degrees north, 105 degrees west. All right, everybody, let's look at number 3. What is the approximate location of the Tasman hotspot in the Pacific Ocean? All right. Now, we mentioned in class, where can I find all the hotspots? What page of the reference tables? Flip your reference tables to page 5. All right, page 5 of the reference tables. And on page 5 of the reference tables, there's a symbol that's called a mantle hotspot. We'll learn about what these hotspots are later on in the year, all right? But right now, we just want to identify where is the Tasman hotspot, all right? And so I see the Tasman hotspot symbol right here, all right? Tasman hotspot is right here. So they're asking me what is the longitude and latitude, okay? So number one, I'm gonna look at the latitude, right? Remember these numbers here? These are my latitude. Sorry. These are my latitude. Oh my goodness, what's going on? Sorry. Latitude numbers, all right? So when I look, the equator's here, which means Tasman hotspot is below the equator. So that means that it's going to be degrees south. It's below the equator, below 0, right here. So that means it's going to be degrees south. So my latitude is definitely under 30 and between 40, right? So let's say 35 degrees south. All right, that's the first thing. Now we're going to look at longitude. Now remember in class, we learned that from 0 all the way to 180 degrees, this represents degrees west. All right, from 0 to the right, this represents degrees east. And from 180 to 20, this also represents degrees east. All right. So when I look at the Tasman hotspot, we'll zoom out a little bit, and I scroll up, it's past, oops, sorry. I know my line is not straight. It's past the 180 line. And so that means it's going to be degrees east. And what number does it point to? Looks to be 160 degrees east. So when I look at the option, 35 degrees south, 160 degrees east, that's looking to be 35 degrees south. All right, the closest one to that is going to be choice 2. All right, so number 4 says, basic answers to the following question on the map below. The isolines on the map show the increases of elevation that has occurred since the end of the Ice Age in this part of North America. A and B are 2 points on isolines. Several towns within the area are indicated. What is the approximate latitude and longitude of Fort George? All right. So I'm gonna find Fort George. Fort George, where are we? Where we at? Where we at? Boom. Fort George is located right here. Now, one thing to keep in mind, you see how these longitude lines are slanted? That means what we're not going to do to find our longitude is we're not just going to go a straight line across, because you just crossed this parallel line, right? Instead, we want to represent Fort George is just a little bit right to the left of this parallel line, and so we want to respect that. So that's why Fort George is going to be a little bit to the right of 80 degrees west. And so when I look, it's between 70 and 80. Don't get confused. It's between 70 and 80. So we're not going to say 82 is between 70 and 80. So let's give an estimate. Let's say 78 degrees west. All right. And this is my longitude. All right. Let me just make sure to for us to remember. That's my longitude. And now when I look for my latitude, right? Once again, I want to respect the parallel line given here. So Fort George is about halfway of the parallel line. So just how the parallel line is slightly curved, I'm gonna follow, oops, sorry. I'm gonna follow the same route, and it looks to be a little less than halfway. So my latitude, let's say, for my latitude, let's give an estimate. I just want to say 54 degrees north. All right. And I'm going to choose an option that is close to what I just wrote. 54 degrees north, 78 degrees west. 54 degrees north, 78 degrees west. And what do you know? 54 degrees north is going to be choice A. Make sure you have your worksheet as we're going over these questions. Make sure it's in front of you. Feel free to pause if there's things that are confusing. All right, number five. Number five, in 1641, the crew of the ship Concepcion used the sun and stars for navigation. The crew thought that the ship was just north of Puerto Rico, but ocean currents have carried them off course. The ship hit a coral reef and sank off the coast in the Dominican Republic. The X on the map marks the location of the sunken ship. What is so the X marks the location of the sunken ship. What is the approximate latitude and longitude of the sunken ship? Right here. Okay. So automatically, this is where some of the issue is. They don't tell us if this is degrees west or east for longitude, right? These are longitude lines. And we don't know, well, we can definitely assume, right? These are these are latitude lines. You can assume that it's north just because the numbers are getting higher, right? As you increase in latitude. So we can assume that. But let's say for the sake of example, we don't know if it's degrees north or south. So there are some landmarks here. There's some areas here that gives me an idea where we're talking about. So for example, I see Florida, right? And I see Haiti, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico. I see Jamaica, Kingston. All right. And so when I'm looking at all these places, especially Florida, right? Florida is part of the US. So let's take a look at page 4 to see exactly where are we. So if we look on page 4, right, you see where the Florida current is right here. I'm going to zoom in. This area, right, Florida's right here, which means Haiti, Dominican Republic is going to be all in this area. Now, I need to know, is this area degrees east or degrees west? Well, remember, just like page 5 we talked about in class, 0 to 180 degrees is going to be degrees west. 0 to 20 is going to be degrees east. And 80 to 20 is going to be degrees east. All right. So that means this area is located on the west side of the world. So why is that important for me to figure out? It's because now that I know which part of the world we are in, now I can just make sure to label that this is all degrees west, and we know this is also on the north side. It's above the equator. So I know my latitude is going to be degrees north. Now that I know I'm looking at degrees north and degrees south, what options can I cross out? I can cross out 1 because we're dealing with degrees west. I can cross out 3 because we're dealing with degrees south. I mean degrees north, and I see south. And I can cross out 4 because it says degrees south, and we're clearly above the equator. So the correct answer, just by measuring, right, where the sunken ship is, it definitely looks to be 70 degrees west. And it definitely looks to be, right, a little less than 21, 20.5 degrees north. Choice 2. All right. So the main thing about this problem is that you just need to know, okay, where is this coordinate? Where's this location in the world? And so that's why it's important based on background information, right? Familiar landmarks. I can go to page 4 and find out, okay, where are we talking about in the world? All right. Oops, sorry. Let me get back to the question. All right, so that's the answer. If you have any other questions, let me know. Other than that, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Have a wonderful, blessed day. Take care.